Hello everyone. Good evening. So we're going to have an Ask Me Anything session. So it's mostly going to revolve around MAANG or FANG companies, mostly around the interview process or software engineer journey. We can tackle any kind of questions, anything that you have, or any kind of journey that you want to reproduce. If you think that an engineer is a high performing engineer and you want to reproduce their journey, we can talk about that. If you're stuck in a service based company and you want to uh, move to a product based company, we can talk about that. We can talk about promotions. We can talk about moving from tier 2 companies to tier 1 companies. We can also talk about startups versus tier 1 companies, whatever. Low level design roadmap and resources in Python. So for low level design, so I've got a first question from Siddhant Kumar. For low level design, you can start with getting the understanding of OOPS. So after you have all the fundamental knowledge of what is object oriented programming, you can move ahead with learning the design principles that are very specific to low level design, just like we have solid principles. And then you can practice one or two problems around machine coding. So machine coding problems are typically in the format where, let's say, you are given a problem statement for splitwise. So we have an app known as splitwise, and uh, you should implement a class where a user can come and add their expense and share their expense with another user. You have a login service, you have a logout service. So these kind of primary requirements, and then you have to write a class structure for them, how the classes would be designed, what all data members you will store in the class, what all methods and functionalities you would keep in the class, what would be public and what would be private, and all the solid design principles would be applicable to your low level design roadmap, to your low level design solution. So you can start in this format: read about object oriented design, read about what are objects, pick up any OOPS based programming language like Java, Python, which is a strong OOPS based language. Then learn about solid principles. Then practice 2 to 3 low level design problems. You would typically find it online, or if you want to do it in a certain format, then you can always uh, look out for joining coding blocks. So coding blocks has their course for students that are already experienced, or that have some sort of experience, some sort of relevant industry experience, and they want to either switch to product based companies, or they either want to switch from a tier 1 product, a tier 2 product, to a tier 1 product. So it's known as career uh, working professionals bootcamp. So you can join that. It has low level design, high level design, and it also has data structures and everything. So yeah, is low level design necessary for freshers? It's not necessary. It's good to have, but I see a lot of startups coming up with low level design questions, and they are primarily judging you on that rubric. So some startups do evaluate you on low level design, on how you think about classes, how you think about objects, and some do not. So it's good to have. It's not mandatory, but it's good to have. So I'm in third semester and I'm learning DSA, but difficult to manage with college. You don't have a lot of options. You will have to manage it with college. I mean, I there is no straight answer. Just take some inspiration. Take some inspiration from people who you admire and who you idealize, and or a position where you want to be, and just think about that position. And then I think learning would get easier, because if you have your why strong, I mean, why you want to do a certain thing, if your why is strong and you have it written out that, okay, this is what DSA will get me, why I want to learn DSA, because DSA will help me get into top companies. Those top companies will get me earn a good compensation, earn a good social status, probably would help me in getting to a good country, or to another country, to any high cost center country, let's just like London or US, and then I can have another roadmap from there. So get your why figured out. If you have difficulty in learning anything, if there is a strong why behind that why should be very very strong. It should either give you a social security, or it should give you financial security, or it should give you a social status. So or some of those things that you want in life. So if it is giving you that, then I think it would be very easier to learn. So if your why is not figured out, and if you have a vague idea about DSA, then I think it would be difficult to learn. Similarly, if you figure out your why for getting into a tier one company, how can tier one company impact your life as compared to a tier three company, then learning would get easier. Web development worth it or not? Any kind of development is worth it, whether it is web, whether it is MERN, whether it is full stack. So it would give you mental models to think. So right now, your thinking about development might be very narrow. After you learn certain kind of development, certain kind of algorithms, certain kind of, let's say, machine learning algorithms, so any engineering problem you solve will give you a perspective. So it is definitely worth it. It's not like it has gone stale. It will give you a lot of thinking principles. It will enable you to solve engineering problems. I can't comment on whether it would directly be used in the organization that you would work on, but at least it will give you the skill set to solve engineering problems in whichever organization you go. So yes, it is worth it. So kindly suggest backend language to switch from PHP, uh, to switch to from PHP, Node, Golang, Java. Okay. So, I mean, it all depends on the problem that you're solving. I can't throw random languages. So, obviously, you can go learn Java, you can learn Go, you can learn Node, whatever is comfortable and whatever is feasible, and whichever language you can go long, select that. There is no such formula that this language would get me a better job, this language would get me a high paying job, this language would take me more far. So just try to have a fundamental principle of becoming a good engineer who can learn multiple languages at a good pace and can solve engineering problems using that programming language. That's it. So that would be very easier for you in the longer run. I mean, that kind of mental model would be very easier for you to follow. What type of ML project is good for a resume? So whatever ML project is feasible to do is good for your resume. If you can pick up a data set, whether that data's modality is in text, video, audio, and you know how to process that data set, you know how to do certain kind of feature engineering on that data set, you know how to uh, take that data set and apply machine learning algorithms on that data set and do some kind of inferencing, some kind of prediction or modeling, that is going to be good. So the problem, you should like the problem, you should like the data set, you should know how to do certain kind of feature engineering on that data set, and then that is a good ML project for you. So, and if you want to pick up open source data sets, pick up some open source data set, you can pick up from Kaggle or UCI or whatever source, and also pick up some good sources. Pick up a good Kaggle notebook and try to reproduce it if you are doing your first ML project, or follow a course. If course learning suits you, then follow a course. If you are a very disciplined independent learner, then pick up a Kaggle notebook which has already solved a problem on a certain kind of data set, and try to follow that notebook and try to do some hit and trial on that piece of code. So when I say notebook, it's in generally machine learning problems are solved on Jupyter notebooks or Kaggle notebooks or Google Colab. So we call them notebooks. It's just an IDE for Python. That's it. How to get a logic for medium to hard problems? Okay. So you get a logic for medium to hard problems by doing a lot of medium to hard problems. So if you do a lot of medium to hard problems, and if you do it multiple times, so let's say you decided that I want to do 400 problems, I would recommend you do half of them, but you do it multiple times, because first iteration of doing 400 problems would teach you certain thing. Second iteration of doing those same problems will give you a deeper insight, and third iteration would give you even more deeper insight into that problem, and in turn it would give you a certain mental model to evaluate the problems impromptu and on ad hoc basis. इट्स लाइक कि रात को 3 बजे भी किसी ने उठा के प्रॉब्लम दे दी ना तेरे को, यार ये वाली प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करियो, you will be able to do that. So how to get a logic for medium to hard problems is doing a lot of medium to hard problems and doing them multiple times. So don't do it once, do lesser problems, but do it multiple times, so that those lesser problems give you a good deeper insights. I have 3 years of experience currently working as a software engineer. Is service based in service based company. I want to switch into top product based company. Okay. So if you yourself don't have a plan, then I would recommend you can pick up a coding blocks boot camp, which is for people like you who want to switch from service to product, and you will have the capacity to follow the curriculum in a very streamlined fashion. It would cover all your data structures, lead code problems, low level design, high level design, and also mock interviews. And since a lot of people from industry are going to orchestrate and teach in that course, you will be able to connect with them in a one-on-one basis. You can get your resume reviewed from them. You can ask for referrals from coding blocks, and I think that can really add value. And if you are a self-disciplined person, you know how to learn yourself. Follow any plan. I mean, follow a plan which has some set of data structure problems, some set of lead code problems. When I say lead code, it should cover all the 14 to 15 patterns. So lead code has some countable number of patterns. uh, I'll name a few, which are the most famous ones, which is binary search, sliding window, dynamic programming, graphs would include BFS, DFS, union find, and two pointers, uh, and obviously your famous ones like priority queue, hash map. So make a list of these 14 to 15 topics and divide them into buckets. Put up good 10 to 20 problems in a very famous topic. Let's say if you are picking up dynamic programming, solve at least 20 to 30 problems of dynamic programming. If you are picking a very niche topic, let's say union find, 4 to 5 problems are more than enough. So build a list of problems or follow a certain set of list of problems, do them multiple times, then move on. So 60 to 70% of your time should go here. Then spend a lot of time on design. So design is also distributed in two parts: low level design and high level design. And since you have 3 years of experience, I would recommend, if you can build a solid understanding of things, you should apply for SD2 positions. So you already have certain level of experience and you know how to work in a certain company. If you can benchmark to get on SD2 positions. So SD2 requires you to solve more ambiguous problems and take more ownership in the company, and it is also very well compensated when you compare it to SD1. So try to benchmark that position since you already have 3 years of experience. I'm assuming you learned a lot of engineering problems in those 3 years of experience, and now it's just about interviews. So follow a roadmap for cracking the interviews, and your roadmap should consider both the dimensions. First dimension is solving algorithmic problems, second dimension is solving design, and design should have both low level and high level, and a lot of high level. So then try to pitch to companies and try to apply on SD2 positions and try to get in. I have a question about transitioning from a consultant role in a service-based company to an SD role in a product-based company. Do you have any suggestions that I should keep in mind while preparing? Yeah, I think so. This question is from Josh Paul. So the same recommendations that I had for Anil Reddy, you can follow the same principle. So you also have a decent amount of experience. And you have it in a consulting role. So tech consulting is also very demanding, and I hope you got to learn a lot. It's just that it's a service based big four company, and you want to transition in a traditional software engineering role in a product based company. So the preparation is going to remain the same, because the positions that you want to apply are generic software engineering problems. So just try to prepare a lot of data structures and algorithms, and try to prepare design. And if you are already strong at one of these two, then compartmentalize your time in the other one. And if you're starting from scratch, spend 60 to 70% time in solving algorithmic problems, and then spend 30 to 40% of time in doing design. So if you are very familiar with designing classes and objects, you can probably skip low level design or just go through the principles and then focus on a lot on high level design. So if you were in a big four, I'm assuming there's a very low probability that you got to work on distributed systems or large scale systems. If you did not have exposure to distributed systems or large scale systems that a traditional internet company gives you, then I would recommend you to spend a lot of time on high level design. Sir, I have done DSA in Java and it's my final year. Can I still crack MAANG? Okay, so can I still crack MAANG on? I mean, you are asking on a very small piece of information. I can probably have an opinion after evaluating you in a mock interview. So I'm sure you can. Sir, how to pick a domain? I did not understand the question. I mean, domain. Did Do you mean what track to follow? Like whether to follow a research scientist track, or an applied scientist track, or a software engineer track, or a front end engineer track? If you're asking that, then please re-comment. I don't have any projects yet and internships. Yeah, I think projects you can still do. You are in your final year. You still have a couple of months. You can still do a lot of projects to have them in your resume, because you need to have certain kind of projects or certain set of projects in your resume. Otherwise, it would look very empty. Otherwise, what would you write in your resume? Then the only thing that you would be left with is education. You would not be able to write anything if you don't have any projects, because you don't have internships. You are a fresh grad. The only thing you will be able to brag about is your coursework and your education. And if I assume that, uh, I mean, your college name would just be one line, your GPA would be one line, then your resume would mostly be empty. So just try to have a lot of projects first, do a lot of preparation. So there's one thing I will drift apart, and I'll share a small thing, that for an SD1, for a junior software engineer, it's a little difficult to get into a very good quality company. Why? Let's try to think about it. So you, a 2024 grad, will compete with 2024 grad. He will also complete. They will also compete with 2023 grads. They would most likely be competing with a lot of 2022 grads also, and they would also be competing with the people who have better experience in service based companies, and they are restarting from scratch. And they would also compete with a lot of dropouts. So getting into the industry at a good quality company gets difficult, because you are competing with a lot of people that are right after, I mean, that are graduating right after the college. And most of the most of the colleges do not have that good placements. So all of them have uh, sort of same kind of employment status. All the engineers that are graduating in these 2 to 3 years of horizon will have your employment status, and they would want to get into good quality companies. And even in the companies, we always see that the applications for a software engineering grad, or a new grad role, is always in abundance. So we have ample amount of options. So for example, let's say if Google is visiting IIT Bombay, so IIT Bombay would probably have a pool of 1,000 students. So let's say all 1,000 students are eligible to get into Google, and all of them know data structures at a certain level, and all of them have a decent profile. Some of them would also have a broad internship. Some of them would have research experience. They all would sit into Google's test, but Google would only pick 5 to 10, because the positions are very limited. But it's not the same at SD2 level. So as you grow up the ladder, so the ladder follows a triangle. A lot of crowd gets filtered out at the bottom, and not everyone gets promoted to SD2. A lot of people go for MBA. A lot of people go for MS. So after SD1, there is a lot of filtration. So getting into a junior software engineer role, or a starting role like an SD1, is the most difficult part. Once you do that and you get into a good quality or a decent company, most of your problems are solved. So just, this is for all the people who are trying to get into SD1 roles. Just be patient and be humble and try to prepare the best. You need a certain amount of luck to get into good companies, because you would definitely be over prepared at a certain point, but the pool of students is very high, and the amount of companies, so it's the supply demand scale. So the supply is huge, but the demand is not that much. And as you grow up the ladder, as you go to SD, SD2, SD3, SD4s, or senior engineers, principal engineers, it follows a pyramid structure. So top of the pyramid, you would be the most lonely engineer, because a lot of people got filtered out. A lot of people left the corporate structure. A lot of people went for MBAs. A lot of people went into product management. So not everyone climbs to the top. So it happens that way. So at finding a good quality position and a high quality position in further stages of your career is relatively easier. Hi Puru, I have a question about transitioning from a, okay, I think we answered that. uh, we answered the consulting to SDE switch. I was a working professional with an experience of 2.4 years and lost my job in December. I want to get into development. I have 8 months of career gap. How to navigate from here on? Okay. So you already have 2 to 2.5 years of experience, but that doesn't support, and you have lost your job in December, and you want to get into development. You have 8 months of career gap. Okay. So, so see, if you want to get into development uh, through a job, so you can get into development through YouTube, through freelancing, through a job, or through different formats. If you want to get into development through a job, you would definitely have to go through the interview preparation, the job preparation format, and you would have to follow a certain structure of getting a job, which is preparing, then applying, then reaching out to for referrals, and then getting the interview scheduled, and then cracking the interviews. But if you want to get into freelancing, then there is a different set of roadmaps. I'm asking freelancing because you mentioned the keyword React. So you want to get into you want to get specifically into React development. So if you have 8 months of career gap, I think career gaps can majorly be ignored if we talk about jobs, because all the recruiters now acknowledge the fact that the markets have been very uncertain and very unfair. A lot of people were laid off, and a lot of talented people and very hardworking people were laid off. And so the recruiters are now acknowledging this fact, and they are not evaluating you solely on the basis of career gap. So I think career gap can be ignored if you have decent skill set and if you are lucky enough to get an interview. So I would just recommend you to follow the preparation. And if you're feeling lonely while following the preparation, if you feel that doing it myself is very overwhelming, pick up an institution like Coding Blocks, or pick up whatever institution you feel is worthy for you, which can back you up, which can manage the whole life cycle for you. So what we do at Coding Blocks, or what happens once you follow an institution and let that institution manage the overall life cycle of your preparation, is you give them the accountability, you give them the ownership. You tell them that, please tell me, what is the plan now, what should I learn, and where do I start, and how do I structure the information, because there's so much information on the internet. How do I structure it, and how do I learn piece by piece, piece. So they are solving a very ambiguous problem for you. The ambiguous problem is, you want to get a high paying tech job, a high paying quality tech job in a quality company. They're solving that for you. They're solving that for you by navigating people from the industry and getting them into their institution and asking them to train you guys and structure the course and structure the overall interview process for you, take mock interviews, give you enough tools, and also have a human touch of preparation. So once you sign up for an institution, you get that human touch of preparation, and you get accountability, or you give accountability, you give ownership to someone else. So you feel lighter, you feel that the weight on your shoulder has now decreased. You feel that, okay, now Coding Blocks will handle it. So that's why we people, or that's why humans like to do a certain course or tie themselves to institutions, whether it is for masters, whether it is for upskilling, because not everyone can take ownership of a lot of things in their life, or for all the things in their life. Sir, I'm a final year BCA student and I have less knowledge in DSA and no web development knowledge. Could you suggest a roadmap for me to learn practice and web development? Okay. Learn and practice web development. I think you meant that. Okay. So you, for web development, you can pick up any track. So there are multiple tracks that people follow. So you can pick up React, and you can pick up any kind of backend server based programming language. You can pick up MERN stack, whatever suits you. There is no right formula. You can pick up Spring Boot, whatever you think is famous. uh, I don't recommend, because let's say if I recommend you React and then someone comes up with another framework, and then you would think that, okay, this foolish guy recommended me some old stale framework. So I would recommend you to learn how to solve engineering problems and how to develop web applications, whether you do it only through PHP, SQLite, and basic HTML CSS without any framework. It does not matter. You should just know how to ship products, how to build features, and how to think about problems, and how to navigate complex problems into smaller sub problems. That's it. So there is no strict roadmap, but if you want a definite roadmap without thinking, without putting a lot of work into it, just pick up a course. You can choose coding blocks for the course. You can pick up a self-paced course, do it at your own pace. Or if okay, you are a final year student of BCA. Okay, you are not a working professional. Otherwise, I would recommend you that course. Sir, I'm doing my master's from CMU in USA. Oh, that is lovely. How can I look for a job as I'm in final year and market is very bad? Okay. I think I know this person. Okay. So you since you are in CMU, you already are a top grad, and you are already in a very good institution. You you can apply through referrals. You can so one good thing that I recently observed, and this is for people who have certain amount of exposure and who are very well opinionated on technology. They are using Twitter now to influence people, to influence founders. So you can use Twitter and try to retweet and try to retweet a lot of stuff that these tech founders and solopreneurs are doing, and try to put up your solid tech opinion or something that you have built on Twitter, and tag those kind of founders, or try to get into their DMs if you want to follow that non-traditional route. So this is a new thing that I've heard, that a lot of people are using Twitter to get funding, to get co-founders, to get eyeballs from tech founders, especially in the US. It's not that famous in India, and it's not that famous for people who are right out of their college. So, but yeah, you can follow that roadmap. Otherwise, you obviously know a lot of stuff about how do you apply through LinkedIn or careers website. Reach out to everyone in your network and ask them to get you referred. Guide from DTU intern. Guide for DTU intern. Okay. Guide for DTU intern. I don't understand what is the question. What we exactly do in a MAANG company, coding in which language, do we use DSA in code? Okay, so we exactly solve engineering, different kind of engineering problems in MAANG companies. There are different programming languages, so it's not, you might not be following only one programming language. So in the last year, I coded in Java, C++, Go, and TypeScript, and a lot of other config based language. So we are not, I mean, most companies are not fixated on one programming language. You need to have that mindset where you can learn different languages, and you should be able to think about the semantics. Semantics means meaning and logic, and syntax would come naturally through internet, through GPT, through your grasping power. So there is no certain programming language which is very famous. Any any and every programming languages you will see in these top tech companies. Resume is not shortlisting. I think you need luck. How could I become an intern at any of the FANG companies in the first year of my college? How could I become an intern at any of the FANG companies in the first year of my college? I have worked and created projects with C++ and Python. So if you feel that your projects and your resume is relevant, your preparation is on point, just keep on applying through referrals, through your seniors, and through your relatives. Whoever you know, just keep on applying through them, and try to get into the FANG companies during an internship. I think that is the only formula, because you know what to study. You already have confidence that you can get in. It's just that you want to know how to get in. So your only best shot is referrals. If the company is not visiting your campus, and if you want to get into the company way before it visits your campus, the best bet is through referrals. I have 1.5 years of experience, 500 problems on lead code. What else should I do to crack a good company? You should apply aggressively if you are familiar with development. If you are familiar with algorithmic problem solving through lead code, you should study a lot of design, high level and low level both. You are already at 1.5 years. You would most likely be considered, if you have decent amount of experience, you would most likely be considered for SD2 positions. So I would also recommend you to learn a lot of design, which includes both high level and low level. If you did not have a lot of exposure to large scale distributed systems, then learn a lot of high level design. Can you suggest some projects which are in nowadays? Also, I have done front end, so should I make projects in that domain? Okay, so there are no projects that are in nowadays. I mean, you can always follow the hype. You can always use the open source models and build agents, build multi-agent models, or build some sort of predictions on those agents, or recommendations on those agents, or some kind of generation on those agents. If you want to experiment with AI, or if you want to learn how to query those models, you would just learn. You would just have to do some API calls and embed it in a fancy front end, nothing else. If you want to do real machine learning projects, then start with the classical statistical problems. And if you want to do something front end, okay, I don't have a lot of expertise in front end, but I think uh, you can be creative here. Try to build clones or pick up an open source problem and try to contribute in that. Or maybe start with cloning an app that you admire, whose front end you admire. I don't know, maybe. If you don't want to solve a real world problem in front end, then you should build something that can be integrated, or that solves a piece of some good app. Let's say a lot of people admire cred with respect to UX design and UI engineering. A lot of people admire cred, so you can dig deep into that, or build something that integrates seamlessly with cred, or build a Chrome extension on top of some web app that you admire. So I think that is what you can do with front end. 1.5 years of experience in a MERN stack, solved 500 lead code problems. I think I've answered this one. 1 year career gap and zero internship. Should I focus on DSA or dev to get a job as soon as possible, or should I focus on other roles like tech support? Okay, so this is very subjective and condition centric. So you can only focus on roles like tech support or other jobs from engineering if you have a financial problem, or if you think that, okay, getting a job, or you will have to do a job to get some money in as soon as possible. But if you can afford to wait, if your family can afford to wait, then I think I would recommend you to get at a decent position and not in a tech support position. Because if you get into a tech support position, you might, if you are hungry, if you might want to again reinvent the wheel by doing the preparation again, and you would want to get into engineering positions, software engineering positions, backend engineering, front end engineering, machine learning engineering, whatever positions again. So you have to solve this problem once for yourself if you really want to get into a sweet job. So I would recommend you to not get into tech support if financial problem is not something that you are chasing. But if there is a financial problem and you have to have a job, then I think getting any job will help, because you literally want to get the cash in. I have 1 year of experience in testing profile. I have completed full stack web development. I have made 4 to 5 projects. I want to get a developer profile. How should I try for this? You are already a solid developer. You have 1 year of experience, and you have done certain kind of development courses, and you also made 4 to 5 projects. You just need a label now. So I think just market yourself through LinkedIn as a development engineer. And I've seen some people bluff in the sense that, let's say, if their title is software engineering test, they modify it to software engineer, and then they bluff in such a way that we develop testing frameworks. So you can play those kind of things. I would not recommend it, because if you are getting into some good quality company, they do a background check, they check your resume, they try to resonate your profile that is written in the resume to the profile that is written in your offer letter. So but try to market yourself at least to companies that you have done certain development projects. So let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say I am in a backend engineering role. Now I want to switch to machine learning role, and I know a lot of machine learning. I have done a lot of machine learning hobby projects. I want to switch into a machine learning role. How would I tackle this problem? So I would put up my machine learning projects on top of my backend projects. I would try to get associated with a team in my current company, which are solving some machine learning problems. I will just tell them that just give me some kind of exposure. Don't give me ownership. Don't give me delivery. Don't give me timelines. But at least associate me in a 20% format, in a temporary format, in a 10% format. Give me a certain smaller problem so that I have some sort of experience in machine learning within the company. So if you can do something like that, if you can convince your manager, who is your testing manager, that 90% of your time is going into developing test strategies, test documents, testing, integration load, whatever, can 10 to 20% also go in feature development, writing a design document? Can you also work collaboratively with another team while having your testing team? So if you can do that, then I think it's going to really help, and you will be able to advertise yourself in such a way that you have done both. You have a multidimensional experience, you have a testing engineering experience on paper, and you also have a lot of development experience on paper. So one experience is 90%, one experience is 10%, but market it in the opposite way. If you feel confident, if you feel that you will be able to solve development related problems, and you will be able to cater to a software engineering profile, then just market yourself in that way and try to get associated with a team in your current organization, if you can, in a 10%, 20% temporary format, whatever format possible. And one more bet is solving or getting some kind of open source project, doing some kind of contribution in an open source project in a development format, to get more confidence, to get more credibility, to advertise yourself better. I have 1 year of experience in testing profile. Okay, I answered this one. I completed more than 500 problems on lead code, but my communication skills is very low. What can we do? Okay. So communication is a rubric or is a parameter that is evaluated generally in an interview. Uh, there is certain kind of weightage to communication. You at least need to be able to express your solution or think out loud. If you can communicate the sub problems that you figured out of a larger problem that you were given, and if you can communicate your thought process, if you can communicate the computation that you did for computing time complexity and space complexity, I think that would be enough. And then in the leadership round, they would ask you a lot of situation or case study based questions, like what kind of difficulties you faced, how did you handle conflicts with your manager. So, and if you can communicate these kind of things also, I think you would be sorted for interviews. But apart from that, if you get into any organization, communication is the first thing that you would have to work on, because if you want to get promoted, you need to be able to know how to advertise yourself, how to market yourself, how to tell a story, how to give updates of your project on a recurring basis, how to convince cross functional teams, uh, how to convince other stakeholders that your design works, that your solution works, and how to also defend certain things when they go wrong. So you will anyways have to learn communication. There is no going back. But keeping the interviews in mind, just know, at the bare minimum, know how to express your thoughts, how to think out loud about a problem in English, because English is going to be a primary language in which you're going to be evaluated. If you're going to work for a famous tech company, startups can be language agnostic, I think. That too, very very few startups. And for leadership based questions, you can always prepare the answers beforehand, because there are very certain set of problems that are always asked, like what kind of challenges you faced, how did you handle conflict with your teammate, how did you handle conflict with your manager, all those kind of things. You can always prepare their answers. But for impromptu and ad hoc questions, you need to be able to know how to express your problem, how to know certain technical jargons, and tell them, like, if you're trying to explain time complexity, you need to tell them that it's big O, and order of n square, polynomial time, exponential time, linear time. So these kind of things make a lot of impact. And also, if you are able to express that this is the process that you followed to break a bigger problem into smaller sub problems, then I think the interviewer would be more or less convinced. And after you have gotten inside the company, If you want growth, if you are hungry for promotions, if you are hungry for growth, ownership, you would have to convince a lot of people that you are worthy of it. For that, you would need a lot of communication. Do coding achievements on platforms like Code Forces and Lead Code help in getting your resume shortlisted for product based companies? So, see, by doing more stuff online on very standardized platforms like Code Forces, Lead Code, Top Coder, or getting or participating in any kind of standardized contest, it definitely adds a layer of credibility. So when someone is going through your resume, they will see, okay, they were hyperactive in problem solving on this platform. Okay, they were also hyperactive on this platform, and they also have a lot of development exposure. They also have machine learning exposure, so that they would think of you as a well-rounded engineer who knows that algorithmic problem solving is important, who knows that development is important, who knows that machine learning or solving some mathematical statistical problems is important. So you would come out as a well-rounded engineer who has a breadth of knowledge. So that's why it helps, and that's how it helps. It helps in building credibility. Bhaiya, I have to do more DSA practice or start learning development. You have to do both because you are in third semester. You have a long, long runway ahead. You have 40 years of career ahead. You need to do everything it takes. Can we crack Amazon with only DSA, or we have to do CP? You can definitely crack Amazon with only DSA. So when we say only DSA, I'm just sticking to platforms that are not competitive programming centric. So there are a lot of platforms that have DSA and mathematical problems. So there are certain platforms that are very CP centric. Then there are certain platforms that are not CP centric, that are very generic in nature. So let's call those generic platforms DSA platforms for sake of simplicity. So just like Lead Code, Geeks for Geeks, yes, you can definitely crack Amazon with learning those kind of things, but you have to be very good at it. Especially if you want to crack SD1, you need to be very good at it because the competition is very high for junior engineering problems, for junior engineering positions. Sorry, but the answer is yes. The short answer is yes. But yeah, I have to do more DSA practice or start learning development. Okay, you need to do both since you are in third year, or sorry, third semester. You have a long runway in college, and then you have a long runway in your career. You need to do competitive programming, development, DSA, machine learning, AI, whatever you can learn, just learn. It's going to be worth it. If you don't have any other plan, if you have other plans, then you can skip everything. But if you don't have any other plan, if there is no backup, then learn everything. I am new here. Where to learn Python? I think YouTube is your best bet and the easiest to start with, and the free most. And if you want an institution to back you up, to support you in assisted learning, then Coding Blocks. Just check out Coding Blocks website. You would find a self-paced Python course. So before we end it, before we forget, and before we end the session, Coding Blocks is coming up with uh, another batch for working professionals. It's relevant for people who are planning to switch from service based to product based. It's relevant for people who are planning to switch from tier 2 product to tier 1 product. It's also relevant for people who are planning to switch from SD1 to SD1 to SD2. Yes, and it is also going to be relevant for people who are planning to switch from, let's say, an analyst or a data analyst or an associate based role to an engineering based role. And it's also going to be relevant for people who are planning to switch from a consulting role, tech consultant, to a traditional software engineering role. Okay, let's take some more questions before we end it. I have already completed 45 minutes. Hi, I have completed HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and DSA. DSA in Java. I finished DSA in 1.5 months, and I feel you definitely need more practice. As it's my final year, I am torn between continuing with DSA practice on lead code. Okay, you have to be patient and bear with yourself. It's going to be a tough time. Final years can be very stressful. A lot of a lot of stress because you might see a lot of people getting placed and a lot of people not getting placed, and a lot of people getting good offers, and that would be very luring. And sticking to the books might be difficult, but just tell yourself that it's going to be worth it. It's temporary, and you will get to work for a very good institution, for a very good organization, and yeah, it's all going to be worth it. So just be patient. Okay, so you now there's a continued question whether you should continue the practice on lead code or shift your focus to building projects while learning something like React and backend development. So if the time is less, you it's very tricky. It's very tricky to navigate. Uh, if you get an interview arranged with your current resume, then just focus on DSA. If your resume is not strong and you are insecure that your resume will not get shortlisted, if you have that intuition, do one or two projects to fulfill that insecurity, and but spend most of your time in practicing DSA, because uh, most companies that come for campus hiring are big companies. I mean, I don't know what college you belong to, but a lot of companies, a lot of big companies, they evaluate you on computer science fundamentals. They think from the perspective that if XYZ person has good solid computer science fundamentals, has good logical thinking skills, they will be able to solve certain set of problems in the company. So that's how they evaluate you. And then there is startups. A lot of startups come with an intent that we don't have a lot of time to upskill an individual. We want an already skilled individual in certain tech stack. They sometimes evaluate you on a certain tech stack. They would love that you know React. They would love that you know Django. They would love that you already know what is Docker, how do you deploy a web app, how do you build the front end, how do you seamlessly integrate everything. They would love all those things. So it depends what kind of companies you want to cater to. So if you want to cater to larger companies, larger organizations, DSA is your best bet for interviews. If you want to cater to niche startups, development is your best bet. And balance is your best friend. If you can balance both, then I think it's the best. Okay, thank you for the session. I'm working as a web dev with 7+ years of experience. What topics do I need to prepare for man companies? So okay, so since you're working for 7+ years, you're already very senior with respect to your work experience. You must be having good amount of experience and knowledge to solve engineering problems. You just need to prepare for a certain set of interviews that would include not more than DSA and design. And if you're targeting MAANG companies, so MAANG companies would not go beyond asking you design problems, whether it is low level or high level. And since you're 7+, they would definitely ask you design problems. They would also have a leadership round for you. In Google, they call it Googliness. In Amazon, they call it a leadership round, where they would ask you certain problems that are very standard. Apart from that, it's all going to be DSA and algorithmic problem solving. Which backend we use with C++, college DTU guide for intern on campus, any content on system design. Okay, so coding blocks is coming up with the working professionals batch, which would have a very detailed, in-depth content on system design, and I would be facilitating that area of system design where I would go through low level and high level both. So it's starting on 15th of September. So one batch is already going on, and then now this is the second batch. So you can probably check out that, and otherwise YouTube is your best bet. If you want a book recommendation, designing data intensive applications is another best bet, but it's a huge book. If you have the patience to read it, I think it's going to be a very good read. Two projects on Moon Stack, 3 star at Code Chef, resume score 50, but not shortlisting. Okay, you need some luck. You have already worked very hard on getting a certain rating at Code Chef, which is 3 star. You have few projects on Moon Stack. Just keep that spirit on. Keep on practicing problem solving so that once you get an opportunity, you nail that opportunity. And yeah, maybe learn a bit of low level design, because a lot of startups are now evaluating you on the basis of low level design, if you are a new grad. Okay, I think we are above and beyond time. We can take these questions offline. You can post it in comments, or at coding blocks, or at a post on coding blocks. I'll be able to answer them. And we can end this session now. Thank you very, very, very much for joining. You can check out the Working Professionals Bootcamp. It's going to the batch is going to start on 15th of September. Thank you very much.